Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, 07th May 2016. The first article is related to the freebies announced in the state of Tamil Nadu. Now, the competitive populism is increasing in politics, and the DMK and AIDMK and other parties like PMK, they are announcing for various freebies to the people. So it is more of a kind of a gift which was given to the people for voting in favor of a political party. Then, in the long run, it is supposed to undermine the development, governance, and the democracy at last. Let us see how it happens. Now, a person is voting expecting some freebie from the government. So, the limited resources which are there with the government will be diverted for providing for these freebies. And these freebies are not just available for the poor, they are also made available for the middle class. So in this context, the misallocation of the resources is going to affect the long-term development. And the next is, the vote of a citizen, it becomes an exchange to a gift offered by the government. So vote more than a right, it becomes an exchange mechanism with vis-a-vis the political party. So in those circumstances, the people's demand for the rights are going to be undermined. So it is the time there has to be some reforms in this particular matter. Now coming to the Ankara, Egypt issue. Now in the Egypt, we have the Erdogan. Erdogan is the president and Ahmed Davutoglu is the prime minister. Now previously the Erdogan was the prime minister and Erdogan has shifted himself to the president's seat. And in Turkey, not Egypt, sorry. In Turkey, in the arrangement, the prime minister is the powerful authority. An entire state's authority lies in the hands of the prime minister and his colleagues. So now Erdogan shifted to the president to amend the constitution and to give the president's office greater powers. But however, in the last year's elections, the Erdogan's AKP's party did not get the sufficient majority to win the constitutional amendments. So here, the president is supposed to be a non-partisan authority, but Erdogan explicitly showed its role in AK's party politics, and also is trying to undermine the power of the prime minister. And there are two issues which have led to the rift between the prime minister and president in Turkey. The first is, in Turkey, you have this particular EU agreement recently. Under this EU agreement, the illegal immigrants who are denied entry into the Europe, they will be sent back to the Turkey. For every illegal immigrant who is sent back to Turkey, one legal immigrant will be taken from Turkey. And other benefits such as visa-free travel for the Turkey people and also $3 billion of European Union aid, etc. are provided to the Turkey. So, the Erdogan's claim is, though it is his work, the Prime Minister has claimed the success for, or won the success for himself. And the second thing is Kurds. Now, Kurds are the minority faction over there. So, the Kurds in Turkey and Syria, they have declared recently a Kurdistan, a republic, an autonomous region too. So, the Erdogan sees Kurds as enemies of the state and he tries to fight them with the military, and there is a huge human rights violations against them. On the other hand, Prime Minister prefers a peaceful solutions for the Kurds problem in Turkey. And the Syrian policy of the Erdogan also has come in criticism, where it has been accused that the Islamic State and the oil resources of the Islamic State are able to find a market through Turkey, and most of the fighters to the Islamic State are reaching through Turkey. So these are the issues. Finally, the Prime Minister Davutoglu, he has got down from the Prime Minister's office, and it is going to increase the powers of the Erdogan further, which is mostly moving towards the dictatorial or authoritarian tendencies, which can harm the Turkey in the long run. And coming to the Indian national movement, so recently we have seen the appropriation of various national leaders from Patel to Ambedkar and the Bhagat Singh's recent controversy for meaning of revolutionary terrorism, all these are a way to appropriate the legacy of these leaders by the existing government and party. Why is this happening? So the right-wing parties in India, they don't have a strong ideological backing and historical support in the form of the leaders of their own. And the second thing is, when you take up this Indian national movement, it has developed various ideas and ideologies that formed the backbone to our constitution. And all these leaders, from Patel to Ambedkar, they are unified on one thing, that is against to the exclusionary nationalism. So it means there shall not be any divides among the people on the basis of caste, religion, etc. That is what is their unified position is. They might be differing on how the social justice have to be achieved, how the unification of India has to be maintained, etc. But however, they are all against to the exclusionary nationalism. So that need to be observed. And the second is floors test in the Uttarakhand. Finally, the Uttarakhand saga is about to come to an end. The Supreme Court has ordered for the Harith Rawat's government to take a floor test, and in this, the dismissed MLAs by the speaker, they will not be participating. So in this, there are two precedents which we need to understand. One is the composite floor test which has come up in UP in 1998. So what is done over there? So here, Jagadambika Paul and Kalyan Singh, these were the two contestants for the government. And the Supreme Court has ordered for a composite floor test, where means the MLAs of the house, they can mark the person whom they like. So as of now, we have confidence motion, no confidence motion, etc. But we never had this composite floor test. It's a judicial innovation. And the Jharkhand principle. Now the question is, if the president's rule is imposed, then the assembly is dismissed. Government has lost the life. Then who has to conduct the assembly if the Supreme Court gives a new life to it for a floor test? Then the Jharkhand principle is that the pro tem speaker will take up this particular responsibility. So this is what is being probably followed even now in Uttarakhand. Now coming to the Arun Shoury's comments, the present government appears to be one-man government. So it means he is trying to highlight the strengthening of the Prime Minister's office and Prime Minister's authority vis-a-vis other leaders, other Council of Ministers. The decision making is getting concentrated. So a shift towards the Prime Ministerial government. So we had very negative consequences of Prime Minister being all powerful. We saw that during Indira Gandhi era. Now, we need to instill more a cabinet form of government in our way of functioning. So in this context, the opinion has to be much broadened, or else consensus-based politics have to be cultivated in the country. That is what is the Arun Shoury was suggesting for. Now, there are beautiful articles with regard to Indian Express today. The first one is related to the Rajasthan Urban Land Clarification Act or Title Certification Act. Let us see this way. Our Rajasthan Urban Land Title Certification Act 2016. Now let us see. You had a piece of land in urban area. As of now, if you sell this land to some other person, then this some other person, that is Y, he has no guarantee of ownership of the land. Only the registration which you do, that is, ensures a transaction as undertaken. It will not give the ownership of the title to Y. So it is due to the improper land record management system in the country. So for the first time, Rajasthan's law recognizes this person not only have the transaction or not only get the transaction authorization, but also ownership of the title, which will be guaranteed by the government. Tomorrow, some Z claims that the land belongs to him. Then the matter went to the court. Then Y will get a compensation from the government if the record has proven wrong. because the government is taking the responsibility for the records over there. Now in this case, there are three principles which are followed. One is curtain, mirror, single agency. What do you mean by curtain? According to this principle, if X and Y a transaction has occurred, before that there are A, B, C transactions on the same land record. So all these becomes invalid and we have to be based on this particular transaction. So if the government wants to pay the compensation, it will see only this X and Y transaction and Y will be compensated. And the second is mirror principle. It means the land title, reality on the ground, any graphic representation of the land, all these have to coincide with each other. And as of now, the Department of Revenue Registration, there is a division of work between them. There is no proper coordination. With regard to the land titles, there will be only one single agency which is going to look after all these matters. So these are the remarkable improvements which can decrease the land-related litigation in the courts and also provides ease of acquiring of the land for the developmental projects by the government. Now coming to the Gnani Jail Singh, you can remember the Gnani Jail Singh for the pocket veto on post office bill. This post office bill is said as parliamentary relic by the Granville Austin. So the pocket veto makes, with regard to a bill, the time will be on the side of the president. Now coming to the death sentence, National Law University, it has did a study on the death penalty in India. This is called Death Penalty Research Project. So now let us see the procedure with regard to the death penalty. A trial court has given the death penalty and it mandatorily goes to the High Court. Every death penalty has to be confirmed by the High Court as per the Criminal Procedure Code. Now, from the High Court, it can go to Supreme Court. It may be by appeal, or so High Court can certify that as a matter of importance that has to be settled by Supreme Court under Article 132 or 134A. And once it reaches to the Supreme Court judgment, once it is received, a review petition can be filed. Once a review petition, then we'll have a curative petition in the Supreme Court. After that, the matter will go to the President's office and President will give the mercy petition or look into the mercy petition. So this is what is the procedure. So the Supreme Court has clearly said that the death penalty is constitutionally valid, but it has to be imposed only in the rarest of the rare case. And then 266 report of the Law Commission, if you observe, 2015, if you observe, it says that slowly the death penalty has to be phased out in India and death penalty has to be restricted only to the cases involving the terrorism. So in this context, what this study says, the research says that most of the people who are facing the death penalty are the disadvantaged sections, are economically vulnerable sections, and they are mostly the school dropouts who do not have proper education, and all of them or most of them are the first time committed this crime, or first time crime committed people. And the second thing, the Supreme Court itself has admitted that in more than 30 to 35% of the cases, miscarriage of the justice has occurred with regard to the capital punishment. And along with that, the socially vulnerable population is also worst affected because of the death penalty. So in this context, across the world, the movement is to move away from the death penalty. So in this context, India also has to reconsider this death penalty as a punishment because the deterrence occurs with not with the harsher punishments. The deterrence occurs with the predictability in punishment whenever the law is breached. Now coming to a ringing silence. So when the drought is discussion in the parliament occurred on the drought, less than 60 members were present in the house. It shows the indifference of the parliamentary members to the ongoing problems of the people. So here we have to observe two things. One is the present drought did not affect the urban India because of the low prices. Generally, whenever there is a drought, it is always associated with inflation. But now inflation is not there. So that's why most of the MPs, they are being having sympathies with the urban India. So they do not, probably they are indifferent to the rural India, which is a very wrong consequence. And most of the action against the drought was took by the government due to the supreme actions of the Supreme Court and also the civil society. So in this context, the Supreme Court, which is entering into the area of questioning, which is supposed to be done by the Parliament, will decrease the legitimacy of the legislature, and this ultimately is going to give away its space to the other institutions in the democracy, which is going to disturb in the long run the separation of the powers and checks and balances. So for the well-functioning democracy, we need an active, proactive questioning Parliament. So that we need to understand. So then I gave you the notes. Please go through that. And thank you very much. All the best.